Hey guys, how are you today? My name's Coda, if you don't know that already. Today, we are doing another episode of the Crime and Conspiracy series. Last week, we talked about the Texarkana Phantom Killer, and this week, we are going to be talking about Jodi Arias and the murder of Travis Alexander. Now, if you haven't heard of this, there is an awesome docu-series on Hulu that you can check out. I think it's just called the Jodi Arias case. It's pretty good. Other than that, I'm going to tell you about it too. So, let's get into it. Jodi was born in Salinas, California in July 9th of 1980. Her parents were William Angelo and Sandy Arias. At age 10, she started to show an interest in photography, and she would continue to have that dream throughout her adult life. Jodi went to high school in Yreka, California, but she ended up dropping out in grade 11. After Jodi dropped out, she worked a couple of part-time jobs and really just wanted to pursue a career in professional photography. According to her family members, they would describe Jodi to have typically a normal childhood, except when speaking to investigators, her parents would go on to say that she might have bipolar disorder, and at the age of 14, they caught Jodi growing marijuana out of a Tupperware container. And they said ever since then, Jodi has kept a secretive and distant relationship from her parents. So fast forward to September of 2006. Jodi was working for prepaid legal services, and she ended up going to a convention in Las Vegas. When Jodi arrived to the convention, she met Travis Alexander, and then the two of them immediately hit it off. At the time, Jodi was actually living with a longtime boyfriend of 4 years in California. I couldn't find the guy's name, but honestly, I don't really blame him for not wanting to be associated with this situation. Days after she met Travis, she would go back to California and break up with this guy to be with Travis. Travis and Jodi ended up dating in February of 2007. So, who is this Travis guy? Travis Alexander. He was born July 28th of 1977. His parents' names were Gary and Pamela Alexander. Travis, unlike Jodi, he had a horrific childhood. His parents were both drug addicts. His mom would go on binges for days and leave him and his siblings there without any food, and she would often beat Travis as well. After his dad's death in July of 1997, Travis and his siblings would go to move in with their grandparents. So Travis's grandparents, they are the ones that would introduce Travis into Mormonism. So at the time of meeting Jodi, Travis was a 30-year-old motivational speaker and insurance salesman for prepaid legal systems. He eventually moved to Mesa, Arizona to live with roommates out there. Within the first week of meeting Jodi, Travis and her would engage in a sexual encounter, despite Travis's Mormon religion forbidding premarital sex. And although they were dating, Travis wouldn't be able to fully commit to Jodi because the more that she would throw herself at him for sex, the more that he would think that she wouldn't be a suitable wife because of his religion. So November of 2006, Jodi was actually baptized into Mormonism by Travis. But the relationship would still be highly sexual even after the baptism. The couple broke up after 5 months of dating, but they would continue to be physically intimate and stay in contact. Travis's friends would go on to say that Jodi was becoming super obsessive with Travis, especially after the breakup. Jodi actually lashed out in a jealous rage when Travis began to date other women. Jodi would slash his tires, she would hack into his social media accounts, and she would physically stalk him by standing outside of his window, and if she would happen to be caught, she would just simply tell him, "I'm here to pick up my social security card." But I really wonder how many times she used that excuse. Like, you only get one social security card. Travis actually told a friend, quote, "Don't be surprised if you find me dead one day," end quote. Shit. And in early June 2008, he would allegedly tell Jodi to, quote, "get out of his life forever," end quote. So before the breakup, Travis actually planned on taking Jodi to a work-related trip to Cancun, Mexico. And after the breakup, Travis would ask his friend Mimi Hall to join him instead. That's gonna go real well with Jodi. The day before that they were supposed to leave to go on their trip, Mimi Hall was starting to get worried because she hasn't heard from Travis Alexander in several days, which was kind of odd because they were kind of seeing each other at the time. Mimi actually ended up feeling so unsure about the situation that she went over to Travis's house to see if he was okay, what's going on. Once Mimi got to the house, she knocked on the door and it didn't seem like anyone was inside. At this point, she was growing more and more concerned, and she decided that this was the time that she needed to call for help. So Mimi ended up texting one of Travis's friends and ended up getting his garage door code. And once inside the house, she went up to Travis's room and saw that Travis's door was also locked. It said Travis lived with roommates. And at the time, there was a roommate that was closed up in his room, and he didn't even realize that Mimi was there until she went to knock on his door. When the roommate answered the door, Mimi asked him if he's seen or heard anything from Travis, and the roommate stated that he thought Travis left a week ago for Cancun. When Mimi told him that they were supposed to leave the next day, panic started to set in. The roommate thankfully had a spare key, and both him and Mimi went to go investigate Travis's room to see what's going on. When the roommate went to open the door, he immediately saw blood on the walls trailing all the way into Travis's bathroom. When he got into Travis's bathroom, he noticed that there was blood all in the sink, all over the floors, and then unfortunately he would find Travis's body laying in a pool of old blood in the shower. Travis ended up having one gunshot wound to the head, about 12 stab wounds, and a deep, wide slit on his throat. Investigators would later find that the murder actually occurred 5 days before Travis was actually found. So during the investigation of the crime scene, police tried to find the weapon that could have been used to kill Travis. They searched the house and they weren't able to find any weapons, but they did happen to find a newly purchased digital camera that was damaged in the washing machine. But the memory card in the camera was still intact. Police ended up bringing as many people as they could that knew Travis Alexander for questioning, including a very cooperative Jodi Arias. Jodi went as far as to call the detective on the case to offer any assistance that she could, and she also provided a blood sample. The blood sample happened to be a match from the blood at the scene. Imagine that. She would go on to tell detectives that she hadn't seen Travis since April of 2008 when she moved back to California with her grandparents. But the evidence to come would prove that is a lie. When the photos from the memory card came back, the evidence was groundbreaking. Police managed to find deleted images of Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander in sexually suggestive poses, and there was also a photo of Travis Alexander in the shower moments before the attack would happen. There was also a photo taken moments after the shower photo that showed Travis laying on the ground bleeding profusely on the bathroom floor. I'm messing up my eyeshadow. So there was a lot of evidence confirming that Jodi was the murderer after all, including the actual images of her at the crime scene. But in all of the interviews and even on trial, Jodi would go on to say multiple things that would prove her innocence. She would say that Travis is a bad man who would hurt her and he made her his dirty little secret. She testified that her relationship with Travis became abusive, and she stated that before the attack, she said he, quote, body slammed me onto the ground, end quote, and that she was forced to fight for her life. She even accused him of being a pedophile and a sex-crazed maniac. Another accusation that Jodi would go on to say is that Travis and her were both attacked by two masked intruders. She said that she couldn't alert the authorities after the attack because she was scared that they would come back and seek their revenge. She ended up walking away from this alleged attack with just a small cut on her finger. Okay. So how exactly did she do it? I'm gonna tell you. Going back before the attack on May 28th of 2008, a .25 caliber gun was stolen out of Jodi Arias's grandparents' house during a burglary, apparently. And on June 2nd, she would rent a car from Rent-A-Center in Redding, California, because she was allegedly supposed to be going up to Utah to meet a guy that she was seeing. Instead, though, she took a longer trip and made a detour to Mesa, Arizona. She went to Walmart in Salinas, California to purchase some gas cans so she can avoid cameras at any of the gas stations on her way to Mesa, Arizona. So when she ended up getting to Travis's house, the two of them would engage in sex, and Jodi would have him get into the shower and pose for pictures. Minutes later, Travis Alexander was dead. So with all of the evidence that investigators had, they arrested Jodi Arias. And before the trial, Jodi would tell Inside Edition, quote, "No jury is going to convict me because I'm innocent. You can mark my words on that," end quote. Well, yeah. The court ultimately ended up seeing through Jodi's stories. And on May of 2013, a jury convicted her of first-degree murder. However, the jury couldn't decide if they wanted to send her to death or send her to life, so they had a mistrial. Round 2 of the trials in March 2015, they yet again could not decide if they wanted to put her to death or keep her in prison for the rest of her life. So the judge ultimately decided to rule out death sentence altogether, and now she is sitting in prison. At the hearing, Jodi would state, quote, "I wish there was something I can do to take it back," end quote. So where is she now? She is in Arizona State Prison serving out her life sentence. In April of 2019, she filed an appeal arguing that she did not have a fair trial. She said that she didn't have a fair trial because the judge didn't protect her from the massive, pervasive, and prejudicial publicity during her trial. And on March 24th, 2020, Arizona appeals upheld her murder conviction. So nowadays she spends most of her time doing art, selling sketches online, and tattooing other inmates. One of her cellmates actually did an interview with Inside Edition, and she showed many of the tattoos that Jodi did on her. She also claimed that Jodi allegedly confessed to the murder. Only Jodi wasn't intentionally going to kill Travis. No. Jodi went to the house hoping that she would find Mimi Hall there. She said that Jodi was wanting to kill Mimi Hall because Mimi Hall, quote, "took her place." So that's the story of Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander. It was a wild one. If you want to watch the full documentary, like I said, it's on Hulu, and it's a really good one. Thank you guys for watching my crime conspiracy theory series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to be uploading every Wednesday. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell to let me know that you want to see more of this. Let's take over this world together. Peace.